Prince Harry is due back in the UK next week. He may travel here with Meghan and their 2 children, or he may be coming alone. The issue, once again, is Harry's security protection when he's back in his home country. ITV News has seen a copy of a report which details the threats to the Sussexes. It was written by Harry and Meghan's private security firm in February 2026. It concludes the risk to the Duke and Duchess's safety is much higher in the UK because it is where the majority of the most serious threats have originated. The document was sent to the British committee known as RAVEC, which decides who gets what protection in the royal family. But days ahead of Prince Harry's return to the UK, including events in Birmingham ahead of next year's Invictus Games, the committee has not changed its mind. The Duke and his family will not get state-backed security. The report we've seen also found that there are at least 6 plots against the Duke from jihadist and right-wing threat actors. It says in 2023 the FBI informed Prince Harry's security team that it had received intelligence that senior al-Qaeda leaders had written a document specifically referencing the assassination of the Duke of Sussex. Other threats listed included a known stalker who was able to get into the courtroom when Harry gave evidence at the High Court in January.
There is absolutely no way in the world that if the UK authorities thought there was a genuine, current, credible terrorist threat against him and his family, that they wouldn't be providing that armed security. It's written from a perspective of bias to support the Duke's desire for armed protection.
King Charles, who was in Scotland this week, has not seen his grandchildren since the summer of 2022, but Buckingham Palace says all issues of security are a matter for the Home Office and the King cannot get involved. Harry's team say, unlike when he goes to places like Ukraine and is given full protection by the President's office, in the UK his team get given a phone number for a police liaison officer. And given his private protection team cannot carry guns in the UK, the report says they cannot adequately respond to an armed attack. The Home Office said its protective security system is rigorous and proportionate, but would not give details about individual arrangements.
Today's story is deeply concerning, and it once again proves why Harry and Meghan made the right decision to step back and build their own life away from the constraints of the institution. Just days before Prince Harry is expected to return to the UK, ITV News has revealed details from a confidential security report that shows the Duke of Sussex is facing 6 active terrorist threats. 5 of those threats, according to the report, originated right there in Britain. This isn't some vague rumor or tabloid speculation. This is a highly sensitive document prepared by the Sussexes' private security firm, and it paints a very troubling picture of the risks Harry faces, especially on UK soil. Let me break this down for you, because the details are shocking, but sadly not surprising if you've been following the Sussex story over the years. The report highlights that the risk to Prince Harry is significantly elevated in the United Kingdom compared to where he and his family now live in the United States. It includes dozens of threats and potential attacks targeting not just Harry, but also Meghan and their children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. Among these is an al-Qaeda document that specifically called for the assassination of Prince Harry. Think about that for a moment. A man who served his country honorably in Afghanistan on 2 tours is now living with the consequences of that service in the form of ongoing extremist threats. The document was submitted to the UK Security Committee, known as RAVEC, which decides on police protection for high-profile figures, including members of the royal family and politicians. This report was commissioned by Harry's private security team and sent over to help them understand the level of danger. It notes that the whereabouts of 4 convicted individuals linked to these terrorist threats are currently unknown to the Sussexes' security firm. That's terrifying. You're dealing with real threats from jihadist and right-wing actors, and some of the people involved can't even be located properly. What's even more alarming is how the report addresses the limitations of private security on UK soil. Harry's protection officers are prevented from adequately responding to an armed attack because they cannot carry lethal weapons while in the UK. Only authorized UK police with the proper clearance from Ravik can provide that kind of armed response. The assessment is blunt. The only way to truly mitigate the residual risks to the Duke is through state-backed security. Private security can only do so much when the law restricts them like this. This comes at a critical time. Prince Harry is preparing to travel back to his home country for important events, including marking the one-year countdown to the Invictus Games in Birmingham next year. There was talk of him bringing Meghan and the children along, but now he's unsure because he doesn't feel it's safe. And who could blame him after reading this report? The document makes it clear that the safety risk to Harry, Meghan, and their family is much higher in the UK, where the majority of the most serious threats have originated. It even points out that nearly 500 potential stalkers are known to the Metropolitan Police in relation to the royal family, and half of them have demonstrated a specific threat against Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet. Let's talk about the broader context here, because this didn't happen in a vacuum. When Harry and Meghan decided to step back as working royals in 2020, one of the first things stripped away was Harry's automatic royal protection. Despite being 5th, 6th, and 7th in the line to the throne at various points for him and the children, that security was removed. Harry has said he was promised annual reviews through something called a risk management board, but none have taken place since they moved to California. 6 years of no proper review, even as threats continue to mount. The report mentions specific incidents that add to the danger. There was the 2023 attempt by a man carrying a hammer and duct tape, trying to access their home in Montecito. There are fixated individuals who have managed to get close, including a woman who twice gained access to the courtroom during Harry's legal appearances in London. The private security firm is actively tracking 28 people showing dangerous stalking behavior toward the Sussex family. This is not theoretical. These are real people, real risks, and real fear for a young family trying to raise their children with some sense of normalcy. Now, why does this matter so much, and why should we all be paying attention? Because this goes to the heart of how the royal family and the British establishment treat one of their own when he dares to choose a different path. Harry is still the king's son. He remains a symbol of the crown, as the report itself acknowledges. Extremists with grievances against Britain, including those opposed to the Commonwealth or with jihadist ideologies, don't care that he stepped back from royal duties. They see him as a high-profile target linked to the monarchy and his military service. Yet instead of rallying around him and ensuring his safety, it feels like the institution has left him vulnerable. The Ravik Committee, which makes these decisions, includes staff from King Charles and Prince William's offices. Harry and those close to him have long suspected that senior courtiers around his father and brother don't want him to have state-funded security. This creates an obvious conflict of interest. How can a fair decision be made when the people connected to the very family Harry stepped away from are influencing whether he gets protection? King Charles himself has not seen his grandchildren Archie and Lilibet since 2022. Buckingham Palace says security matters are for the Home Office and that the king can't get involved. But many of us watching this saga unfold see it as another example of the cold, institutional response that pushed Harry and Meghan out in the first place. The Home Office claims their protective security system is rigorous and proportionate, but they won't give specifics on Harry's case. Meanwhile, the rest of the working royals continue with full taxpayer-funded security without this level of scrutiny or denial. Think about the hypocrisy for a second. The same media outlets and royal watchers who criticize Harry for wanting privacy are the ones who obsess over his every move. The constant negative coverage, the conspiracy theories, the relentless online hate, this is what the report refers to as stochastic terrorism or lone actor threats fueled by grassroots extremism. When you have commentators and social media accounts constantly demonizing the Sussexes, it inspires unstable individuals to act. We've seen it time and time again. The derangers don't just criticize, they create an atmosphere where real danger thrives. And let's not forget Harry's military service. He put his life on the line for his country in Afghanistan. He spoke openly about the mental health challenges that came from that experience, which helped so many people. But instead of gratitude and protection, he's treated like an outsider who must fend for himself. The report notes that threats against him have existed since his time in Afghanistan in 2007 and 2008. This is not new. Yet the response from the UK seems slower and more resistant than it should be for the son of the monarch. For Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet, this situation is especially heartbreaking. Archie and Lilibet have barely had a relationship with their UK family. The children deserve to know their heritage safely, without their parents having to weigh terrorist threats against family visits. Harry has always been clear that his priority is the safety of his wife and kids. That's why they left the UK in the first place, to escape the intense scrutiny, the racist undertones in much of the coverage, and the lack of support from the institution. This latest report should be a wake-up call, not just for the royal family, but for the British public and the government. Prince Harry is not asking for special treatment beyond what is reasonable for someone in his position, with his background. He offers to fund his own security in some ways, but the law requires state authorization for armed protection on UK soil. Denying him that puts him at greater risk and sends a message that leaving the royal fold means you're on your own, even when facing terror plots. We've seen this pattern repeatedly. Every time Harry tries to do something positive, like his Invictus Games work, which supports wounded veterans, or when they focus on mental health and children's rights, the criticism ramps up. The same voices who demand they stay silent are the ones who won't stop talking about them. It's exhausting, and more importantly, it's dangerous when it contributes to real security threats. Looking ahead, we have to wonder what happens next. Will this report finally prompt Ravek and the Home Office to grant Harry the protection he needs during his visit and beyond? Will King Charles step in as a father rather than just a monarch? Or will we see more delays, more legal battles, and more uncertainty for the Sussex family? Harry has already shown incredible resilience, from losing his mother at a young age, serving in combat, navigating intense media pressure, and building a new life across the ocean while facing lawsuits and threats. He continues to move forward with dignity. Meghan has been his rock, and together they've created a beautiful family focused on love and purpose. We also need to talk about the bigger picture of royal security and accountability. Taxpayers fund protection for the royals because they represent the country. Harry, even after stepping back, is still part of that family by birth. Treating him differently doesn't just affect him, it weakens the overall image of the monarchy. If the public sees the institution abandoning one of its own in the face of terrorist threats, what message does that send? Moreover, the report mentions that anyone wanting to attack the British royal family might see Harry as the most vulnerable member right now because of his limited protection. That's a sobering thought that should concern everyone who values the safety of public figures. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to thank you for spending this time with me on Trendline TV. We do this because we believe in justice, in protecting families, and in calling out systems that prioritize image over people's well-being. Prince Harry deserves to walk in his home country without constant fear. He deserves security from a country he once served, not suspicion or abandonment. Harry and Meghan are showing the world a different way forward, and no amount of threats or negativity will stop their journey. Thank you again for being part of this community. I will see you in the next video.